I'm joined by President Andrew Hsu and the college's COVID-19 leadership team, all of whom are participating remotely from separate locations. Now, this is our 18th round of virtual town halls and our very first round for this spring semester. We'll continue to hold these town halls about every month or so, and future dates will be announced closer to each event. Today's event, by the way, will last about 45 minutes. We'll start with opening remarks from President Hsu, followed by opening remarks from Bridget McClernand Sykes, who's our COVID-19 lead at the College of Charleston. And then we'll get to your questions. As always, you can submit your questions live using the Q&A feature at the top right of your screen. I will read each selected question out loud, and the appropriate presenter or presenters will respond. Selected questions will appear in the Q&A window and on a slide on your main screen. Now, because we want to get as many questions as possible, we ask you to please keep your questions brief and to the point. We will also include a few questions that were submitted earlier via email, as well as some common questions received by campus offices. Now, if we don't read your question live during today's event, our presenters will still try to answer you directly through the chat. You are also welcome to submit your questions at any time to our email address. That email address is covid19@cofc.edu, and someone will get back to you. And with that, I'll turn it over to President Hsu for some opening remarks. President Hsu.
Thank you, Mike, and good evening, everyone. It is good to be here with you this evening for our students. I hope your first class sessions and meetings, either in person or on Zoom or online, have been productive as we kick off what is going to be yet another very challenging but very rewarding semester. For the parents and family members who are with us today, I want you to know that our campus is now teeming with life. In fact, late last night, as I left my office in Randolph Hall, I walked by an opera class singing in the cistern yard. And this afternoon, when I was walking into the cistern yard, I found a class of students with old-style film cameras taking a photography class, and someone, one of the students actually stopped me and said, can I take a picture of you? So I must admit that I haven't seen or used one of those old style cameras in at least a decade. Based on the many successes and lessons learned from last fall, I am confident that together we will overcome the hurdles we face this semester. However, I want to remind everyone that our collective campus community's response to the COVID-19 pandemic is going to be critical to our college's overall success and our ability to stay open for in-person and hybrid classes and on-campus activities. As I have said many times, and will say it many more, I encourage everyone to continue to be diligent in wearing face coverings, practicing social distancing, washing your hands frequently, and monitoring your health. For those of us here living in the Charleston community, it is important that we follow the guidelines and guidance of the local community so that we can be good neighbors. In particular, that means being mindful of current city ordinances requiring face coverings and respecting size limits of gatherings. With the rise of cases in the state and in our region, local Charleston officials have stepped up enforcement efforts and are issuing more tickets and citations as part of their phase 2 response. And regarding our own step up efforts here on campus, as a reminder, beginning January 25th, students will be selected at random weekly for mandatory testing throughout this semester. For new students and families, I encourage you to review our Back on the Bricks plan, which you can find on our website. I also encourage our students to take our Cougar Pledge, which was written by our Student Government Association and student leaders. And for our returning students and families, you may want to reread the Back on the Bricks plan and also recommit to the Cougars Pledge. The start of any semester is an exciting time with new classes, new professors, and new friendships. Yes, even during a pandemic. Together, I know we will make the spring semester a big success. Now let me turn things over to Bridget McLernan-Zykes, our COVID leader here on campus. Bridget.
Thanks, President Hsu. Thanks for giving me the time to tell the community about our mandatory testing. So as you know, the college has been working for close to a year to ensure that we limit the spread of COVID-19 on our campus and keep the College of Charleston community safe. We promised a long time ago at previous town halls that if the conditions with the virus change, we might need to change our response. So, as President Hsu mentioned, with case counts rising across the country and within our own state and region, this semester the college has decided to implement a mandatory testing protocol for our students that live on campus and for any of our students who come to campus to go to class, to use college facilities, and or for those students that work on campus. As you are likely aware, last semester our testing was offered on a volunteer basis. Although this was an effective approach for our community at that time, given the recent increase in cases, we felt we needed to go the extra mile to make sure we were doing what we could to mitigate the spread of this serious infection. So this semester we are selecting students for testing using a computer algorithm, and this will allow us to monitor any significant spikes in positivity rates, leading to mitigation responses that are efficient and effective for our population. So let me tell you what we have planned out regarding testing for spring 2021. The college will be requiring that up to 300 students present for COVID testing per week beginning next week on January 26th. Students will be selected using a computer-generated algorithm, as I've already mentioned, and students who were selected for next week's event should have already received a notification by text and email this afternoon that they had been selected for the next week's event. For any testing events beyond next week, students will be notified the week before the testing event that they have been selected for. If students can't make that testing event, they must apply for an exemption if that testing date doesn't conform with their schedule or for some reason they can't be here. And as part of that registration process, exemption forms will be in the email sent to the students. Know though that one request per student to exempt themselves from testing will be allowed per semester. Students who have recently tested positive for COVID-19 will not be required to test for 90 days following their positive test result. Prior positive test results must be verified by Student Health Services, so make sure your positive results have been uploaded to the My Student Health portal in My Charleston to make this verification process easier. Students who test negative may be selected more than one time during the semester. So if you get one notification to test, you may get another notification later in the semester, and this is all part of the program. Failure to comply with mandatory testing will result in Cougar Card deactivation, which will limit your access to facilities and resources on campus. Testing at these events will continue to be available for members of the College of Charleston community who wish to volunteer to test, just like last semester. And this is a lot of information. So it's also posted on the back on the bricks page under the FAQs, and go to the required COVID-19 testing portion of the page. Thanks very much, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. We've got a lot of questions, so go ahead. Let's go ahead and start off with a few of them. The first one is, my freshman daughter and her friends have been looking at apartments for next year. What is the latest she can cancel her fall housing contract without incurring a penalty?
Hey, Mike, this is Amy Orr from Campus Services. So students have to pay a $200 prepayment in order to apply for housing. As long as they cancel their housing application before June 30th, there is no additional cancellation penalty. However, they will forego that $200 prepayment. After June 30th, a $500 penalty applies, and then it increases to $1,000 on August 1st. And then students who don't cancel before move-in date will be required to pay the full housing fee for both the fall and spring semester. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Another housing question here. Is there housing for students taking summer classes?
We are currently planning to house students on campus for the summer. We typically open that application process in April, and we will send emails out to students letting them know when that application opens. They can also contact the Office of Campus Housing for more information regarding summer housing.
Okay, let's get to the next question. This one comes from our COVID-19 at cfc.edu email. This one is for our Provost Austin. Do professors have discretion to move hybrid and in-person classes entirely online?
Thanks for the question. As a result of the high prevalence of COVID-19 cases in the Charleston region right now, right before the start of spring semester, we made the decision that faculty members who were scheduled to teach in-person or hybrid courses this semester could make the decision, with appropriate notification to their classes, to teach the first 2 weeks of the semester fully online. Recently, we have communicated again to faculty members that, again, because the caseload in this region is very, very high right now, that faculty members who are scheduled to teach in those formats can choose to stay online for an additional 2 weeks. Our hope is that by the end of that time, the caseload will start to be coming down in this area. As folks I'm sure can understand, a lot of our faculty members have health issues of their own. They have family members with health-related issues. So we're really trying to be very sensitive. But let me add that we have many faculty members who are teaching their courses in person, in hybrid format. The campus is buzzing with students and faculty members. So there are still many faculty members who are teaching in person and hybrid. I did want to bring to everyone's attention some resources that we created in the second half of the fall semester and that are now available online. I don't know, some of you may have attended the information session that we did last week for students and parents that was really intended to provide a lot of education and then point you to resources so that folks had a much better understanding of the different learning modalities. And this slide that you're seeing now refers you to the website, the spot actually, and back on the BRICS website, the /learning-modalities, where you can see a video of faculty members talking about the modalities. And then there are actual online asynchronous modules that anyone, including parents or other folks who are interested, can access to really get a sense of what an asynchronous class is like and all of the pedagogy and rationale that goes into creating an asynchronous course, because it really is a very important learning modality and one that faculty members spend a lot of time and give a lot of attention to.
Okay, thank you, Provost Austin. Let's go ahead and get to some more questions here. Why were the resident life rooms not deeply cleaned between fall and spring? I had to clean my son's room when we moved him back in for the spring.
I can take that one. This is John Morris, Vice President for Facilities Management. We did deep clean the rooms that were vacated in preparation for new incoming residents. However, it's standard policy that we do not clean the rooms that have personal property in them, just so that there's no confusion about the personal property.
Okay, thank you, John. Another one concerning housing here. Are there any on-campus apartments for students?
Hey, Mike, this is Amy again. We do have some apartment style housing available primarily for upperclassmen students, but we do have that. If a student is currently looking for on-campus housing, we do have some beds that are available, and your student should reach out to the Office of Campus Housing.
Thank you, Amy Orr. Let's continue with our questions here. Next one is, my student is a commuter. How is she supposed to do an in-person class, then an online directly afterwards? The professors should be taking this issue into consideration.
I'm happy to respond to that. So I think that there are a lot of students in similar situations, and when the academic class schedule is put together every semester, there's time built in between classes, whether a student is going from an in-person class to an online, or, before the pandemic, when students were mostly moving from one building to another, from one class to another. In this kind of situation, what I would say is that there are locations all around campus where students can go and sit down with their technology, let's just say a laptop, and get into their online class directly. There's great Wi-Fi, comfortable locations. If, in this case, your student does not have a laptop, we do have loaner laptops available, and I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Mark Staples to talk a little bit about how a student could access one of those.
Thank you, Suzanne. Again, this is Mark Staples. I'm the Chief Information Officer and the Senior Vice President for Information Technology. I actually put a link into the response for this particular person for the laptop program. We do offer, we target folks related to their laptops as far as what type of laptop to get. But if they cannot afford one, we actually have a loaner program, a long-term loaner program, and that link is in the laptop link that I just put into the response to this particular question. And we have plenty of laptops to be able to loan to students, and it will be for the duration of the semester. A lot of students don't like bringing their laptops to campus because it's in addition to their books, but in this situation, it's probably necessary that they bring their laptop so that they can participate in the in-person class and then go to one of our many Zoom rooms, is what we're calling them, throughout campus, in Stern Center, in Robert Scott Small, and some other areas on campus where the wireless is actually really good. So if you have any questions, anyone can feel free to email me at cio@cfc.edu.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, this is John Morris. I'd also like to second what Provost Austin and Mark were talking about. With the Zoom spaces that Mark was referring to, we have both indoor and outdoor. So we have several tented areas that have Wi-Fi and electric. Those are all listed on the Back to the Bricks website. So you can look for those sites specifically at that location.
All right. I hope that answers that question. We'll get to another COVID-19 at cfc.edu question in just after this next one. At what point will students be able to decide which class will be their pass-fail class this semester? Provost Austin?
Yep, glad to answer that. So at the end of the semester, students will be able to view their final grades and make a decision on the basis of the final grades that they see. So they have plenty of time between now and the end of the semester to do really well and maybe not need to invoke pass-fail at all. But if they do, it will be at the very end of the semester. They can see their final grades and then make a decision.
All right, great. Once again, this is from the covid19@cfc.edu address, and you can email that anytime and we'll get back to you with some answers. But here's a question that we recently got, and it's a popular one. Will the college allow students in resident halls to have visitors this semester?
Hi, this is Melantha, Director of Residence Life at the College of Charleston. It is still our intention to open up visitation at some point in the spring. Provost Austin mentioned our rising case numbers in Charleston, and we remain concerned about that. We want to balance student safety and also their ability to interact and see each other. So we have not opened up spring visitation yet. We are going to continue to monitor the numbers and we'll communicate with students when we do open that up. And it will be limited to visiting other people in your own residence hall. In the meantime, we do have some limited lounge spaces open in the buildings and students can visit with each other in those spaces. We do have capacity limits there, but we also have sanitation stations set up so that people can wipe down surfaces more easily. And they can interact with each other in person in those spaces until we do open up visitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and go to our next question here. Can you please let me know how an out-of-state, off-campus student signs up for a COVID vaccine test in Charleston?
Hi, Mike. This is Bridget McLernan-Sykes with Student Health Services, and I'll take this one. We are monitoring very closely with our state health department when vaccines will be available. At this point in time, vaccines for college students that don't have underlying health conditions are a few months out from being able to be vaccinated. So when we do learn more about that, we will be sure to communicate that with you. I don't think being out of state or off campus will be a limitation, but it could be that they may be home this summer when your state opens up their vaccines for college age students, and they may end up getting a vaccine at home. But we will keep you posted as we know more.
Great. Thank you for the information. Let's go to our next question. My freshman is struggling not with the coursework, but with time management. Is there any help available for students who are having trouble managing due dates, planning study sessions, and juggling academic responsibilities?
So I'm happy to respond to that. And this is such a wonderful question. I am so grateful that you asked this question because this is so important. And the fact that your student is a freshman, this is absolutely positively the time that any student needs to learn all of the things that you mentioned: time management, due dates, planning, study sessions. I mean, all of these different things that especially a freshman student has to really learn during this critical first year. Yes, we absolutely positively do have resources around all of these things that I would call study skills. And we have on campus the Center for Student Learning, CSL, that provides tutoring services, but also these kinds of academic skills management opportunities. So thank you for asking this question. I hope all of the students and parents who are in the town hall tonight, any student, it doesn't matter if you're a freshman student or not, you could be a senior. If you need any help with these kinds of things, the resources are there and they're really important lifelong learning skills to have. So thank you.
And thank you. Let's go ahead and go to our next question. Does financial aid work for summer?
Hi, Mike. I'll go ahead and take that. This is Amy Takayama Perez, Vice President for Enrollment. I put in the chat a link to our general summer term guidelines, but the quick answer is generally yes. You do generally need to be enrolled for at least part-time, but we'd love to work with you on your individual case, make sure that you meet the eligibility requirements, and the Office of Financial Aid is happy to help.
Great. Thanks a lot. Let's go to the next question. It's a travel question. Will students be allowed to travel out of state for Easter holiday? Who wants to take that one?
I'll start, Mike, and others may want to jump in. We have not included a spring break in our academic calendar this year with the express purpose of trying to limit travel among our students, which thereby limits the spread of the infection both into other areas of the country and then returning it here to the college campus. So we will be strongly discouraging students to any sort of travel that they will be doing.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to our next question. And Bridget, this one looks for like it's maybe for you too. My daughter is a junior and has been volunteering at MUSC's Children's Hospital for a couple of years. As such, she has recently completed both rounds and doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. As it relates to required COVID-19 test documentation that the college routinely requires, are there plans in the future, or I'm sorry, are there plans in the works to factor in students like her when it comes to requiring a test?
Thanks. This is a great question because I have asked it and I don't have a 100% answer on it yet because the vaccine is so new. And just like a lot of other people who have talked already tonight, so much of our work at the college as administrators is very individualized and working with individual students with their individual situations. So testing may still be necessary in someone who is fully vaccinated if they have symptoms. But in terms of requiring a test, I think we will likely continue to require testing of everyone at the moment because so few in the population are vaccinated. And there is still the possibility, although it's small, when you're vaccinated, that you can get COVID, be infectious with it, and spread it to others. So obviously, we would want to catch that quickly and contain it so that it didn't infect other people.
All right. Thank you for that answer. I want to tell Will that we're going to be, there's a couple questions we had in the queue concerning the COVID vaccines, which have already been answered, and the pass-fail that have also been answered. So we'll get to the next one after this next question that we have right now. I hope that is understandable. The next question we have is, what will be the structure for classes in the fall 2021? Same as this semester, synchronous, asynchronous, in-person, hybrid, all online?
Great question. And our operating principle right now is that things will be considerably better with regard to the pandemic by fall. Our hope is that most of us will be vaccinated and we will be getting back to whatever the new normal is going to look like. So I would say that what the guidance that I've been giving the deans who've been working with their chairs and with faculty members is that many more of our courses will be in person. But I also think that one of the long-term impacts of the pandemic is going to be on any university campus in this country, that there will be more courses that will continue to be offered online. I think it's students have gotten used to online learning. I think faculty members have become much more comfortable with online learning. So I don't think that we'll go back to where we were in the past, which was largely in person. But I do think that there will be many more in-person courses offered in the fall with a mix of hybrid and online synchronous and online asynchronous.
Okay, thank you, Provost Alston. Melantha, this question looks like it's for you. What opportunities is the college providing for students to get more involved and connected to campus while still remaining safe?
Thank you. I am happy to take that, and then I'm going to let Michael Duncan chime in after I talk about some residential opportunities. So I mentioned earlier that our lounge spaces are open in a limited capacity. We are also offering some in-person programming in the residence halls. So these are small groups of students, socially distant gathering and doing some activities together. It differs per residence hall, so make sure you get in touch with your RA or your residence hall director, and they're happy to work with you. And they are also encouraging residents to check Cougar Connect and participate in on-campus events, and I'll let Michael talk a little bit more about that.
Michael, you're muted. You're still mute. There you go.
All right, sorry about that. So Michael Duncan, Interim Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. As Melantha had stated before, we're really working hard to strike a balance with the need of students and the desire for them to engage and connect in ways outside the classroom, but also being mindful of health and safety. So we're in the middle of our weeks of welcome. So we do have 5 weeks of comprehensive programming that is focused on wellness, mental health, involvement opportunities with our clubs and organizations, and just making a connection. And a lot of that is virtual. With some of our units, for example, Campus Recreation, they've done a very good job of sponsoring some special events where they're able to bring in some maybe different type of recreational activities, table tennis, volleyball, things that can be done maintaining social distancing and face coverings. Fishing on Fridays has become a popular event. So looking at those creative opportunities, we'll continue to monitor conditions on the ground. And it is our desire to offer as many activities as we can in person with capacity limits and face coverings required, and a mixture of those with our online virtual. And you can see all those virtual opportunities with our Cougar Connect system. It's all promoted through those Cougar Connect, the online portal.
All right, thank you, Michael. And yes, fishing on Friday is a very popular item. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows about that. All right, let's go ahead and get some more questions here now. I am familiar with a couple of prospective students who are seniors in high school and are interested in visiting the College of Charleston campus and stay overnight on campus as a guest of my daughter. If these high school students produce a recent negative COVID test, is it possible that they could visit campus this spring semester and stay overnight in a dorm with my daughter? Having this type of experience was decisive in my daughter's experience to go to CFC.
Mike, I can start this. Again, this is Amy Takayama Perez, Vice President of Enrollment, if anybody else wants to jump in. But as Melantha said, we are not currently having guests in the residence halls. If this is a admitted high school senior, congratulations. We do have many opportunities for smaller in-person visits Monday through Saturday, and we're prioritizing high school seniors and our newly admitted Cougars. So I encourage the students to reach out to admissions and we can work through that. We also have some virtual classroom visits. If things do change in the residence halls further into the spring, then we can obviously update those policies. But we too are very eager to have students on campus, but please just have your students reach out to admissions and we can at least have a tour for them for sure.
Yeah, Mike, this is Paul Patrick, President Hsu's Chief of Staff. I would echo exactly what Amy just shared. Our goal is to try and get campus back to normal as quickly as possible, but we have to do that within the bounds of how much the virus is giving us. Right now, it doesn't present itself to be able to do this, but if the back part of the spring semester gets better, then we'll certainly try and do some of these things. We are responding as quickly as we can to the information here on the ground, and so if it gets better, we'll open up the spigot some, but we're not going to do that until we are absolutely certain it's safe to do so. So we understand these are important opportunities for students, and we want to be able to allow them to have these experiences, but we have to do it in a way that's safe for them and safe for the students, faculty, and staff here on campus now.
Okay, thank you, Paul Patrick. The next question concerns intramurals, and since we've just got an answer to that, let's go ahead and go to the next question here. And the question is, will the dorms and dining rooms be back to normal in the fall 2021 semester, or will there be restrictions with visitors, gathering, etc.?
Mike, I'm happy to start, and then others can certainly weigh in on this, but we absolutely hope so. As others have said, it all depends on the circumstances in play at the time. We'll continue to do what we need to do to keep students and staff as safe as possible, but we certainly hope so.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? Okay, let's go ahead and go to our next question. Why were many classes portrayed as in person, but in fact, after the semester began, were online?
Glad to answer that. Suzanne Austin here. We built this schedule with every intention of having our in-person and hybrid classes meeting from the start of the semester. As we've mentioned, right now the case count in this particular part of the country is very high. And so in order to protect the health of our entire campus community, we authorized faculty members to make the decision, if they felt the need to do so, to begin the semester on an online format. And some people decided to do that, some didn't. Our intention is still, as soon as it's safe, to return those classes to an in-person and hybrid format. So we are just trying to get through this very difficult period that we find ourselves in right now and move forward with classes as planned. But great question, thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go to the next question and concerns safety. With the inauguration of the new President of the United States, what is the College of Charleston doing to ensure there is not any of the same rhetoric that took place at the U.S. Capitol just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I can take that one.
Sure, Chief.
Yeah, obviously, while we can't predict all activity or what may or may not happen, we remain I do in almost a daily contact with our local law enforcement partners here to include Charleston PD and the FBI, to stay up to date with any kind of emerging intelligence that may be coming out on that kind of activity. And here on campus, we go to great lengths to foster just really great relationships with all of our student government associations to let them know we're here to allow them to provide a space for them to express their views in a safe and a lawful manner.
Okay, thank you, Chief. We've got a few more minutes. We're going to try to get through some of these questions that we still have on board. Next one is, when is it appropriate to start securing loans for fall 21, spring 22?
Sure, Mike, I'll take this. I put in the chat there. So we are currently accepting FAFSA applications through our Office of Financial Aid. So I'm not sure of this particular situation, but that's their first step, is to apply for federal aid, and we will be awarding those towards the end of the month, beginning of February, for the academic 21-22 year. If you are a current student, then you do need to reapply for aid every year. So I would encourage you to reach out to our Office of Financial Aid just to make sure that we can work with your specific concern.
All right, great, thank you. Another COVID-19 testing question. Will there be rapid testing available?
Yes. Hi, Mike. It's Bridget McLernan-Sykes again with Student Health Services, and we are working to get rapid testing available. We don't have any currently on campus, but we are continuing. We've had a lot of supply chain problems with that at Student Health Services, getting the testing available, the rapid testing available there, but we are also working with our partners at the health department and at MUSC to see if we can offer that on a larger scale on campus as well. As of yet, though, no.
Okay, thank you. A couple of travel abroad questions. The first one is, will the university be offering any travel abroad courses this summer? When will decisions be made about these course offerings?
Really wonderful question. As someone whose life was completely transformed by these kinds of experiences when I was a young student, no one wants to see study abroad gear up again more than I do. And I know that we have students who are just waiting for the opportunity, students who weren't able to go this year, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to work things out so that they can go in the coming semesters. So with respect to study abroad this summer, we're monitoring the situation very, very closely. We're looking at what's happening with travel advisories to other countries. We're looking at whether or not other countries are going to require vaccination in order to allow US students in. We will be making a decision about this probably sometime in early March.
All right, great. The next question is kind of like that. Is it reasonable to plan to study abroad in fall 2021? Does this depend on the global rollout of the vaccine? Does anybody else want to add anything else to this?
I think this is a different question, so let me respond to this, because now we're looking at fall. And so right now, our plan is, I think it's safe to say that, yes, there will be opportunities to study abroad in the fall, unless things really go backward with the pandemic. I don't know if it's going to depend on the rollout of the vaccine. It will depend, I think, on locations and what various countries decide they want to do in terms of letting US citizens travel to those countries. But I do anticipate that by this fall, there will be opportunities for our students to study abroad. So please stay tuned and please maintain your enthusiasm for doing this, because it's a transformational experience. All
right. Thank you very much. Got a couple more questions. After this one, I'll get to the one from COVID-19 at cfc.edu. But right now, will CFC require a vaccine to attend by fall?
Hi, Mike, it's Bridget again, and I'll answer this one. So we will likely require a vaccine to attend this fall, as long as the vaccine is widely available. We obviously have several required vaccines to attend the college, and none of them have caused a global pandemic. So my guess is that the COVID vaccine will be required, but we don't have that in place yet, and we have to watch how the rollout of the vaccine goes over the next several months before we make any firm decisions on that.
Okay, great. And our final question is a popular question. Will spring commencement be virtual or in person? Paul Patrick, you want to try that one?
Mike, I'll be happy to take it. Paul Patrick again, Chief of Staff. Right now, it remains our strong intention to have spring commencement take place in Cistern Yard in early May. What we don't know yet is what exactly that will look like. As you recall, we hosted our spring 20 commencement in fall in Cistern Yard. It was in person. We did not, it was just for the graduates themselves. We unfortunately were not able to accommodate family and friends in Cistern Yard. That may be what it looks like this coming spring, but it is our plan to host spring commencement on time in Cistern Yard. Just exactly what the details of that event, we don't know yet. We actually have, believe it or not, it hasn't even turned to February yet, but our first commencement meeting is in the next week or so. And so we'll begin to talk about that as soon as we know what direction we're headed. We will communicate that just as soon as we can.
Okay, fingers are crossed. And that concludes the Q&A portion of today's event. Before I send it back to President Hsu for closing remarks, I want to remind our audience that you can stay up to date on College of Charleston news by visiting our university news site. It's the College Today, and you can find it at today.cofc.edu. For details on the college's COVID-19 response and plans, please visit Back on the Bricks, and you can find that at go.cofc.edu/bricks. Technology-related questions and issues should be directed to our Central IT Help portal. You can contact them at help.cofc.edu. And as always, thank you to our presenters and our staff and student workers from the Division of Information Technology who helped to produce this virtual event. Now, I'll turn it back to President Hsu for some closing remarks. President Hsu.
Thank you, Mike. I also want to thank all of you for joining us for our first virtual town hall session of the spring semester. I hope we were able to provide you with some useful answers to your questions. If not, and if you think of new questions, please be sure to write to us at covid19@cfc.edu, and we will provide you with answers as quickly as possible. We'll continue to hold these virtual town hall sessions throughout the spring semester so that we can provide you with timely updates about our campus. Until next time, have a good rest of your evening, and let's have a great spring semester. Go Cougars.